to today's broadcast of North Idaho College Public Forum. The crew is comprised of NIC television students, and your moderator is North Idaho College political scientist Tony Stewart.
Today our guest is Fred Stindern, who grew up in Europe and who is with us to share a story, and we're going to talk about his life with you. Many of you realize that in recent years there has been an attempt to rewrite history and to pretend that the Holocaust did not take place and that the Nazi regime in Germany did not send millions of people to concentration camps and to their death. Our guest has experienced that terrible period in our history, and he's been very gracious and cooperative to come today and to share that story with us. Fred, I welcome you to the program, and again, I thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for calling me, and
Fred,
I appreciate it.
Let's start with where you were born and where you grew up in Europe.
I was born in Nikolsburg, Czechoslovakia, 1919, and then I grew up in Austria. And then when the monarchy was broken up, Austria-Hungarian, Romanian, Czechoslovakia, so they gave a part from Austria to Romania. And there was in Czernowitz, a small town for 100,000 people. And there I grew up, and there I went to school. In 1939, I lost my brother. When Hitler came to power in Germany, he has to go to Czechoslovakia, where he was a soldier and was born in Czechoslovakia too. And 3 weeks later, we got a letter, he died.
Now, let's talk a little bit about that. Was the first tragedy of a number that would come in your life concerning the rise of Hitler to power. When you say he died, he was in the service?
They recruited him to the army back to Czechoslovakia when Hitler started to invade Czechoslovakia.
And so he was fighting for Czechoslovakia,
right.
Hitler and the Nazis invaded.
But they didn't have a chance even to fight. And then we found that they sent us a notice that he died on nicotine poisoning. And then we found out the truth that they killed him when he was a Jew.
That as the fight was going on, was he captured and then killed?
That's right. And in 1940, the Russians came to our town. And they were there for 6 months. And then the Germans came in 1941. The Russians started to retreat from the square Czernowitz, and the Germans came in, and they took us all men on a big marketplace and lined us up and counted each 10 guys they took out from the line. And they told them that they're going to work.
This was the Nazi military that was...
Yeah, the SS troops.
Can we back up just for a moment? We'll come back to that. But while there was the occupation of the Russian soldiers, I believe you said for a 6-month period, how did they deal with the people of your town?
They did the same thing like Hitler did. They took away all these people was they used to have little store, or they was their own owner of a manufactory, or a home owner, was right away a rich man for them. And overnight, they took him away, and we didn't know where he went. In the morning, we got up, we knocked on the door, nobody was there. His house was locked.
That was during the Russian occupation.
Right. And then when the German came, started all over the same thing again. The German took all away what was sympathetic to the Russian, and then they took all the men. First all men.
Is that of the entire city? Or?
Yeah. And they took us on a big marketplace. And there they put us in line, and like I say, they counted each 10 person took out till they got 100 people. And then they told them they're going to work. I just happened to be the 9th, and the 8th was my friend next to me, and he said he wants to go to work too. He walked out and he told them, "Oh, I'm a carpenter, I would like to go to work too." He said, "Sure, why not?" And they took him out on the line, and then they took him out to the beach. And we have to go and dig graves, and the 101 persons they killed right on the beach. And then they told us to go home. But when we started to walk away, it was all surrounded with machine guns. So we didn't dare move. We just ran into homes where it was an open door, and we were standing there overnight. In the morning we walked home. And then they took us all out from the homes and made a ghetto on the end of the town. And from them ghettos they started to take people out to the concentration camp. I happens to have my brother-in-law is not Jewish, and he took care of my mother.
Now, when you talked about that they counted off in groups of 10 and all, it was, and you said that some of your friends and others were not Jewish. As they were involved in this process, were they picking out Jewish members of the city and taking only the Jewish people?
No, they were very sympathetic with us. Our people from our town, they went on the city hall and were telling, we don't want no programs here. We don't care Jewish or not Jewish. We are a family here. We were 100,000 people, and we didn't know what Jewish or not Jewish means. We were living all together like brothers and sisters. We never had a hatred in this town till Hitler came. And then they couldn't do nothing to save us.
Were they treating the people of your city in a more massive way than they were some of the other cities in Czechoslovakia? Were they concentrating on this city for?
Oh yeah. Yeah, then they took us out, and like I say, and they put us in the ghetto. I came out from the ghetto, but my brother-in-law took us all out. And a week later, then they went and took all the men's. And who was able to work, they put us to working camps. We have to dig trenches for the road for Hitler when the army came. There was no road there. It was a road, but dirty road, but when it was raining, this water didn't have where to go up. So we have to dig the ditches. So they took us out from our town to Bucharest, to Bacău, to Iași, to Cincinnati, all this neighborhood there. And we have to work, we were living in the barns. And they pursued up 356 people in one place and 300 people in another place. And we had to work.
No, these all were men, were they?
Yeah.
What happened to the women and the children at this point?
They disappeared in the concentration camp.
They took those people to concentration camp?
Like I say, my family was lucky. They were saved by my brother-in-law was not Jewish, and they didn't know. And women, you don't know who is Jewish and who is not Jewish. And the neighborhood didn't point fingers and say, this Jewish family or this. Like I say, it was a family town there. And the first time I ran away from camp, after a year, I came back home. I was hiding every morning in 4 o'clock in the morning in the attic. My landlord was a German guy, and he was wonderful. So he let me every morning in 4 o'clock in the morning, he opened up his door and let me up in his attic. And there I was living every morning. Till one morning, I got up in 4 o'clock to go up. My next door neighbor, a Jewish fellow, but he was working with the Gestapo and with the police. And he saw me going out from my apartment. I turned back and I came in the house. My mother says, what are you doing, Zoe? Forget it. It won't take long, they come for me. And sure enough, an hour later, they came and picked me up, the SS, and they sent me back to the concentration camp. And there I was for 4 years.
What concentration camp were you at?
That was in Romania, just to build a working camp. We were working in the morning, going out and building the roads.
How many people were in that concentration?
350.
350, so it's, compared to some of the camps, it was small in number.
Yeah, this was just working camp. And when somebody couldn't work anymore, you heard only one shot and he was gone. We never saw him again.
So if you got a health problem at all and couldn't work, you simply were killed?
You weren't allowed to say it. I lost my 4 toes. I froze my foot, my right foot. I didn't dare tell him that I couldn't work. I was walking this way, and I was working, and I didn't say a word. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here today. And then in October 1945, we heard the news that the Russian came from one side, and the American and the England came from another side. So there was a rumor in the camp that they're gonna liquidate us, not to leave no evidence for American troops or any other troops that they were keeping us.
So as the Nazis were retreating, that they would eliminate the camp?
Yeah. So I ran away one night. I thought, when I have to be eliminated, let me try at least. If I get killed on the road, but not there and waiting the children. But they didn't have a chance to do it. But I ran away and I came in a small town and was hiding there in a broken down synagogue for 3 days. And then we heard the news that the Russian came. And that was all. Then I came to the capital of Romania, to Bucharest. I was there a few weeks with the Jewish organization, gave me money, gave me clothing, and changed my name, till the America came then. Then I went back to Austria, and from Austria came to Munich, and in 1952 I came to America for a displaced person.
And you've been living in the United States since 1952.
Oh yeah, 1952, 4th of February, 1952.
You can very vividly remember when it was. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Let's talk some more about what happened. You're talking about being in Austria, and then you wound up in Romania and Czechoslovakia. So as the Nazis and Hitler came and occupied those areas, we hear a lot about the large concentration camps in Germany itself, but those camps were just all over Eastern Europe.
But from our town, mostly they went to the Ukraine. This was the Ukrainian concentration camp, and there was mostly people were killed. They starved for hunger, they didn't have what to eat, or they put them in the train, and with hundreds and thousands of people, nothing, couldn't go nowhere. They were suffocated right there. And then when the Russian retreated, and the Ukraine, right in the Bessarabian, this was the Romanian, belonged to Romania, Chisinau, Iași, things like this. They took out the kids and they threw them in the air and they shot them. Just little kids. And then one or two survivors were there, and they ran back and they told us the whole story how it was. But the Russians were the same way. They told us, oh, nothing, we're just retreating, we're coming back. But they destroyed, I was working in a newspaper, and they came in and destroyed all the radios. They should know nothing what's going on. And this was the same thing like this. And then the Germans came and they treated us the same way.
So the Russians, while they were there, were creating the concentration camps and putting people in them, and they also were killing.
Oh yeah, oh, they took like farmers, not only Jews, farmers, they had a little farm. For them, they were already rich people. And overnight, they took them all away. And they put them in the wagons and they took them away to Russia. And what's happened to them, nobody knew.
From this terrible experience that you had, do you have some idea of the number of people that were taken from those Eastern European countries and taken into the Soviet Union? Was it many, many thousands?
From our little town?
As they were retreating at certain points.
Oh, no, we never knew how many. But the farms was way up, you know. From the towns, they took only mostly the people they used to have a little clothing store or manufactories, homeowners. We lost around, I couldn't say much, but 3,000 people when the Russians were there. And all the rich people. No, it wasn't rich, they didn't work for somebody, they worked for themselves. For them, they were already rich. And there was no way to do it. They took them right away.
So the Russians were taking away the leadership of the towns and the communities. Right. Those who owned their own businesses and those who had money.
Businesses, or a banker, or he has a little coffee shop, or he has a little market.
And it didn't matter from what background they were, if
no.
It's because of the position
That's
they
right.
had. But when the Nazis came, then they were concentrating on the Jewish community.
Just on the Jewish people. Just Jewish people. So right away they went to a Jewish organization, and they had to give them the list, who is what, and we knew right away. And then we had many people, but they were Gestapos, working with the Gestapo, the Jewish people. They thought they're going to be saved. And they gave away by a lot of people too, the names and the neighborhood and this. But we had many people, but they were hiding Jewish people. Like you had in Austria. I had a landlady, she was hiding men. Her husband was in the army, in the German army, was an SS man. Home, they were saving Jewish people.
The other members of the family were?
Yeah.
Yes. War, I know, oftentimes creates those kind of divisions, even when with families. So if I can just review what you're saying, that in the Jewish community itself, that there were some members of the Jewish community you've indicated were traitors.
Oh, yeah.
And they were selling out other members of the Jewish community.
That's right.
So they would not
be
become...
persecuted. They thought they'd not be persecuted, but they were the first what were sent away. But Hitler didn't like people traitors. But in the beginning, he needed them.
So he used them to find out other Jewish
That's
people, and then
right.
after he'd used them, then he arrested them and sent them
Oh,
away.
they
too.
disappeared too. Sure. But first they gave away everybody else, and then they got their turn.
They were the last to go after
That's
they
right.
had.
That's right. But he got many was collaborating with the police and with the SS, and this was all. And that's how soon he came in 1941. 5 days was free. They could do anything they wanted, and this was all the SS troops. And there was people that came out from jail. They were murderers in our town. They were sitting, and then we had 5 brothers. Was they were the strongest gangster in our town. When they came back in the uniform with the SS, and this, they were Jewish friends. He said, "Don't worry, we won't do nothing to you. That's just for faith. I get paid for it." And they helped a lot of Jews. They hide them in this, but couldn't do much. Well, it was a small town, and that was all.
You also indicated in the story that you've been telling about your experience that there were some German people where you were who actually helped the Jewish community.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important, I think, to note that there were German people who did not support the Nazi movement.
That's right, but they had to do it. Like even maybe we're working. One day, every month, we got a new outfit coming and taking care of us. And one day, we got a nice lieutenant, a German guy. And the farmer, this was 3 years after we were working, the farmer came out. We did a terrific good job for them, for the road and this. So he came out and asked him if he can bake bread for us and give us some bread. But it wasn't allowed. Nobody was allowed to help us. So he said, "You didn't ask me nothing, I didn't see nothing," and he let them do it. So not all of them was that, but they were forced into it. The same thing when I came back after the war to Austria. All my friends were the German, Austrian people. They were in the army. They were SS, they were in the other army, troopers. But after the war, they didn't want to know nothing about it, but they were forced into it. So with me, I couldn't hate the whole nation. Well, hate, I don't have no hate in myself. I couldn't live with hate. So that's something, but we were suffering, and that was all. And we tried to forget the Holocaust, but it's hard to forget.
Yes.
It's not easy.
I know for you personally that I can only imagine. I did not. You can never understand what someone else goes through unless you've gone through it. I know that. But with all that you went through, you must also have a real desire, even though you personally do not like to think about it a lot. It is really important for Americans today to understand as best they can and know the history.
Oh, definitely.
Because through that process, you increase the chances it will not happen again.
That's it. Like this, the march here, the neo-Nazi. They scare me. And that brings you back memories of this. And that's the thing that we're not allowed to let it happen again. Well, when it's happened again, it's just unbelievable. People think it's not true, what people went through. I, myself, I still didn't go much through what other people did. Well, like I say, I was the lucky one, but I was working. And when we were working, we could hide our suffering, our pain, not to give in. But not many could give in. I had my friend walking with me on the road to work. He was 5 foot, and he was a heavy eater, and a heavy kid. And one day he couldn't go anymore on. Well, food we didn't get. We got in the morning black water. It was supposed to be coffee. And 12 o'clock we got 12 ounces of bread, a piece of bread. And then we got prune juice. It was supposed to be soup, prune with barley. But we didn't see a prune, we didn't see barley, but just water. For me, food was nothing. I could live without food and I could eat. But he couldn't. He was very hungry all the time. And one day we walked on the road, he couldn't walk anymore. I tried to help him. I got 12 lashes with a stick, but I tried to help him. And he fell down and we kept walking. The whole group walked away. Then we heard only one shot, we never saw him again. And that's the reason we were afraid even to mention something when you were hurting or something. But you knew right away that's the end of it.
During this whole 4 years in the camp that you were at in Romania, was that the diet or the limit to your eating all that 4 years? You just had just such small amounts?
No, we didn't lose many people there. Just 3 or 4 guys, but you couldn't anymore work. But he took only the healthiest one and the young one. I was 21 when they took me the first time, and the second time I was 22 when I ran away the first time. And there, that was all. But when somebody couldn't help, we lost 3 guys. Next day we didn't know nothing, where they were or what it was, and nobody was talking about it. We were afraid to talk even.
That was in one day you lost 3?
Yeah.
Since you had such a little amount to eat during all this time, you must have been physically always tired and feeling weak.
I came out with 89 pounds. I tried to find the picture, how I looked when I came back. Somebody took a picture, I couldn't find it. 89 pounds I got. But like I say, the will, I promised my mother, I'd be back, you shouldn't worry. And that's what kept me going. And what I took care mostly was of the shoes. Clothes we didn't have, patches, everything, but the shoes I took care of while I was suffering with my frozen toes. And that's the only thing what I cared about. Food, I had it, the soup in the morning and a quart of bread, and that's what was whole living at. But sometime we got a Romanian soldier, but he took care of our camp. He sometime got by and pushed us some food or something.
How many hours a day did you have to work, and how many days a week did you work?
5 days a week. Sunday we didn't work. But we went out at 6 o'clock in the morning and came back at 6 o'clock in the evening.
So you had a 12-hour day?
Yeah. And everybody got a portion. 6 foot by 4 foot to dig the ground. And this was hard ground.
And that's what you had to do each day?
Every day. And when somebody couldn't do it, like I say, this was the end. And when somebody was finished sooner and you want to go and help somebody else, you weren't allowed. And this, sometimes somebody looked away and he tried to help him, then he got lashed. And like I got when I helped my friend. And we couldn't do nothing to help somebody else.
As people would falter in this and would fall and they were eliminated, now, were other people brought into the camp? Were they replaced by others from time to time?
No.
You started with 350, you said.
That's right.
When the 4 years were up, how many were left in your group?
We were left around 345. So we didn't lose many.
You didn't lose many, did you?
But my friends from another camp, they were only a kilometer, let's say around 10 miles from us, was another camp. They lost a lot of them. There was older people there.
Older, yeah.
By us was mostly younger one. We didn't lose many.
So you were mostly young men that had the physical strength.
Physical strength and the will to live, to go on.
Fred, were there times, though, that even though you had this great determination, you promised your mother you would survive, and you certainly did, and you went through so much, but were there times when you felt like that it was hopeless and that you wouldn't make it?
No, we were a group of 8 boys, my age category, and we said we have to survive. We have to do everything we can to come back there. Some tried to give up, but we're encouraging. It's no use to give up. We had a group of 10 people that were strictly Orthodox, and they want to give up. But they couldn't eat this food with this, but we showed them you have to do it. It's no way out. Forget the religion now. Forget everything, just keep going on. But when you want to think of this, it's no use. And they kept going this way. But when you have the strictly Orthodox, where they go up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he has to make his prayer and this, we didn't believe so much on this. We were concentrating ourselves on this. Like winter time, the lice and the fleas was horrible. The only thing that we were saved in the winter time, we went out and digged a hole in the snow, took out our shirts and put it there, and everything came on top up. The lice and this we cleaned up, and this we washed ourselves. Otherwise we didn't have nothing else.
through this whole process, there must have been a bond that was created among you people. It must be just so different how, you know, you were supporting one another.
Yeah, no, we lived all 350 in the same barn. This was a barn where people were putting hay or corn or this from the farmer, and we were living on straw. But we had a group with us. Like I say, we were young people, we were kept together. The older ones, they didn't care too much. They kept walking and they didn't talk much. They were, to be honest, one was afraid of another one. Well, you never know who was the traitor, who is going to say something, or who is going to talk about it. And this was the mainly fear what we had in this whole thing.
Some of those people that you were in the camp with, and you worked so closely with them and supported one another as prisoners, are any of them still in contact with you? Do you get to see them or talk to
Only the last 2 years I lost all complete contact. Last year I had my friend came to visit me. He lives in Caracas. 2 friends of them are in Caracas in Brazil. I was there and they came to visit me. In Israel I had 3 friends. I visited them and that's all. But now I lost completely contact. I don't know where they are or what it is. One guy I have as good friend, he's still in Russia now.
He's in Russia.
And I just got a letter last week. Now when it's so nice and easy to go to Russia and there's the America, I should come and visit him. I think about it.
Yes. When you did get together with these people, you must have a lot of very special feelings. And
yeah, we talk about how like I say, I was lucky. I didn't lose too many. I lost only 1 brother. But in other ones, they lost their whole families. Okay. They have only this, but they came back and nothing. But like I say, I was the lucky one.
Has your family stayed in Europe, most of the members of your family?
Yeah, no, I have nobody more in Europe. They're all in America.
They're all here.
First I sent my mother out to America. She was the first one. Then I came, and then my other sister came with a brother-in-law, and then another sister and brother-in-law came to Canada. And then I took him out from Canada. Now we're all here in Los Angeles. But I ran away from Los Angeles and I came to Idaho.
Came up to Idaho. Fred, we're out of time. I wish we could talk about your family here in America.
Thank
I know
you
it's
very much
very special that you're in this country that is now yours.
Yeah.
And we thank you for being here today. It's been very, very helpful to us to remember that we must not let that happen again.
I hope we won't forget it. That's
we must not forget.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today and talking about something that is so important, and we invite you to be with us again next week at the same time. Until then, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
North Idaho College Public Forum can be seen at the same time each week over this station. This production was videotaped earlier by an NIC student crew for viewing at this more appropriate time.